of independence, things that took place. This is a clear indication, as you will see. This apparent reality is visible even in his personal appearance. His attire of contemporary military fatigue and traditional Arab garments speaks neatly to his contradiction. Now his outfit reflects the global fragmentation, a form of cross-fertilization referred to in global studies as hybridization. The mixing of different cultural forms and tastes facilitated by global economic and cultural changes. Now, and the stylish sport watch, look at his hands. Look at the stylish sport watch he's putting on right there. As he condemns the United States and its allies at his handheld microphone, his retreating sleeve exposes this watch, probably a Timex product that is as American as an apple pie will be. Now, this contradiction shows how complex the struggle by Al-Qaeda could be, how contradictory it could be to these people who tend to want to place a holy jihad to the rest of the world. Now, I will just conclude here by saying that Africa is a weak link in the global war against terrorism. In the age of globalization, it is very crucial that we pay attention to some of these weak spots, because we are living in a world that is much more complex than it was some 30, 40, 50 years ago. I'll give you some very recent example. A pastor in a small congregation in Florida just last month only threatened to burn the Quran. Now, as cable news is broadcasting that piece of information here in the United States, it is being watched in Kabul at the same time. It is being watched in Kabul in Afghanistan, it is watched in Somalia, and Muslims are already on the street. Less than 2 hours that the man got the news to the air. Now, we are living in a world that is much more challenging, and it's important to maybe pay more attention to these weak links in the global war against what we call Muslim extremists. I'm trying to keep to the timing so that we can have some exchanges in terms of questions and answers. So I'd like to stop at this point, and if you have some questions or some ideas, you have the floor to. Yes, sir.
Why do you think Africa, as you say, I'm quoting what you said, why do you think Africa is the weak link in terms of terrorism?
Africa is a weak link because Africa has what they call weak states. Africa has failed states. Now, when a country cannot take care of its space, that creates a weak link. That country becomes a fertile ground for extremists who sneak in like they did in East Africa in the late 90s and join NGOs or what they call non-profit out here. Now they join the ranks and they turn around and they mobilize people, they mobilize other younger extremists, and then they use them to create what they want to get. So Africa is a weak link because of the failed state, because of the poverty, because of the general atmosphere of carefree that you have out there. Is that okay?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You said that in pre-colonial conflict there were as many as 10,000 different polities.
Right.
That today the plurality of population conflict practices Islam. And you mentioned so many attacks. It would seem that these are attacks by Muslims upon Muslims. To what extent can we attribute this to the distortion of the traditional African map as a result of colonialism? I guess to synthesize the question, how much of this can be blamed on European colonialism?
Well, I will link this to the arbitrary manner in which European colonizers divided Africa. The 1884 Berlin Conference in Germany was a one-item agenda, actually. European powers went to Africa. They realized that there was going to be conflict amongst them in the course of, taking different part of the continent for themselves. So Otto von Bismarck, the then German Chancellor, convened a conference in Berlin, 1884. They met and decided and carved out a strategy that will not bring conflict while they are partitioning Africa for themselves in different parts of the continent. So that in a very large extent account for the weak state that we have in Africa. The weak state, the failed state, or the rogue state, and we can associate them in different. Somalia is a good example of a rogue state. There's no real government in place. All right? There's anybody does anything. You have different groups of cartels. You have different groups of armies, I should say. And you have a government a US-backed government that is not recognized by anybody. This also accounts for the occasional piracy that you have toward that coastal area there. There's nobody who is in charge. That's a good example of a rogue state. Now there are so many weak states. Cameroon, my country, is a weak state. It's only a potential bombshell. At any time, anything can happen.
Chaos stems order. That they're trying to create this mass chaos to basically get that first step in to throw a seed out to grow their order in from this chaos to try to stabilize it. Something that I've noticed is that we keep going back on the idea that Islamic extremists, Islamic terrorists, is it really what we're talking about, the idea that the whole idea on terrorism is to either incite terror, or are they actually trying to make that point, trying to take something physical and monetarily away from where they're attacking? The idea of the talk about the Nigerian Delta moving. The attacks themselves are still considered acts of terrorism due to the fact that they're inciting terror in some way or another. Are they trying to take back that, or are they trying to make some kind of religious point?
No, they are trying to cause government to address the issue of a particular concern for them. They have been neglected because resources in their territory have been taken by the government and nothing is put back there. They say thank you. You cannot allow somebody to come to your house, pillage your house, and don't say any thank you. Don't give you any gift back. In fact, especially when they come to take it by force. No, things that are underneath the ground belongs to the state, quite all right, but not the same in the United States. If I discover oil in my house here, Frankfurt has no business coming to tell me how to.
No, you don't own the ground.
Well, but the things in there, the things in there can be mine.
So the idea that
I was just going to add that there's such a thing as poverty of dignity, actually. There's more to it than just religion. I strongly think that there's much more to it than just the belief that it's a religion that must prevail. But one of the things that actually fuels extremist thinking and action is the thinking that Islam is the best that must rule the world. I just read the excerpt by the Nigerian 23-year-old who, they believe that Islam is what is supreme, and any other thing out of that is from the infidels who must be fought and pushed to the background. And this is the primary leitmotif of extremists.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for an informative discussion.